Hi, I'm Joro5. In this episode, we are going to analyze one of the most affordable and iconic starter ships available, the Mustang Alpha. This video is structured into 4 parts: background of the ship, what I like and what I don't, my final verdict, and the improvements I would make. Let's begin. The Mustang Alpha is manufactured by Consolidated Outland, and it is the base variant of the Mustang series, added to the game in early 2015 as an Arena Commander ready ship. The Mustang series has been completely redesigned for 2018. They became bigger, less square and with folding wings. Consolidated Outland designed the Mustang series with the intention of offering affordable ships built with cutting-edge technology, such as lightweight alloys and components inspired by alien technology. The manufacturer has an interesting story that I covered in my review of the Nomad, which I recommend you watch if you missed it. Lore-wise, the ship was a huge success, allowing Consolidated Outland to expand and begin producing new ships like the Pioneer and the Nomad. In-game, this ship has long been considered a lackluster choice by many. The main culprit was the physically inaccessible cargo bay, which has only recently been fixed. To this day, this trivia can still be found in the Star Citizen fandom. The Mustang Alpha is incapable of holding cargo, either in dedicated storage or on the floor of the ship, despite the pledge store description stating that you can have the Alpha's advantages without sacrificing carrying capacity. This, combined with the weak default weapons, made it nearly impossible for some players to progress in the early game if they obtained it through the Mustang Alpha starter pack. So, is the Alpha better today? Let's find out. What I like. Claim time. The Mustang Alpha has always had one of the lowest claim times, even under a minute in the current version of Star Citizen. This is probably due to the problems the ship had, such as not having physical access to the cargo bay. In the future, I expect it to be in line with similar ships. Cockpit. This is where the ship really shines. All Mustangs share one of the best cockpits in the game. It's basically all glass, except for the small instrument panel. There is nothing to obstruct the view, not even a thin metal bar. The Mustangs are among the best ships from which to enjoy the sights of the verse. Landing lights. The Alpha has excellent landing lights. You can land in the darkness corners of the verse and still see a good distance around the ship. Good looking. All Mustangs share an airplane-like aesthetic that is appreciated by some and disliked by others. Personally, I prefer spacecraft that go beyond the airplane look, but there is no denying that the Mustang is a good-looking ship. It reminds me of the CH-7 ultralight helicopter, especially because of the similar canopy and instrument panel. On a personal note, the look of the Mustang could easily be transformed into a spiky pirate look. Think how cool that would be. Flight performance. The Mustang Alpha is very maneuverable. With the controls in your hand, it feels agile and nimble. Acceleration and top speed are in the medium to high range. I tested the Alpha on the racetrack, and although it is not suitable for this activity, I found it sufficient to get some practice in. Entrance ladder. This is a feature that I like more and more as time goes on. Whenever a ship has an entry ladder, it's less likely that you won't be able to get into the ship if it's not landed properly, especially in the wilderness. If you are using a ship that only has a ramp entrance, like the Cutter or C1, you are bound to get stuck somewhere sooner or later and not be able to re-enter your ship. Having an access ladder makes this problem less likely. This is an aspect that CAG needs to address at some point. What I don't like. No gold standard. The Mustang Alpha is far from the gold standard. It has access to internal storage, but not to the components. However, given the simplicity of the ship, this is not a major problem. Fragile. In lore, Consolidated Outland used advanced alloys to build the Mustang, but in game, the Alpha feels like glass. Every time you hit the surface, even at low speed, you are likely to lose a wing or a nose weapon. In combat, it's even worse. Facing enemies with ballistic weapons is a nightmare, as they tear off parts so easily that you end up losing most of your weapons in no time. Cargo bay. It is a good thing that CAG recently made the cargo bay of the Alpha physically accessible. But good luck trying to load one SCU boxes. You will need surgical precision and a lot of patience. Top speed. The Alpha has a top speed of 1200 meters per second and an SMC of 225, which is not bad, but considering that the Mustang series was created as a direct competitor to the Aurora, and that the focus of the ship is to push the power ratios to the limit, it is a bit disappointing that the speeds are basically the same as the RSI starter. I think all ships in the Mustang series, except the Beta, should have their SMC and top speed increased by 10%. No passenger seat. The cockpit of the Alpha is large enough to accommodate a passenger seat, which would have made the Alpha a great ship to fly around with a friend. Final verdict. Before getting to the final verdict, do not forget to like and subscribe to support this channel. If you're a new player, use the referral code on the screen to get an additional 5,000 USD. Also, consider donating on my Ko-fi page. This is a very expensive project and any little help is appreciated. Thank you very much. The comparison of the Alpha to an ultralight aircraft is spot on. It's not the ideal ship for running a small business, it's too fragile and the cargo bay is maddening to operate. If its top speed were higher, the Alpha could have been a great entry-level smuggler. As it is, it's more of a sporty vehicle for enjoying a ride in a panoramic canopy. It's a direct competitor to the Aurora, but in terms of features I will take the RSI starter any day. It's more compact, uses less hydrogen fuel, has a logout bed and, although it can carry one SU less, its external cargo bay is easier to use. For all these reasons, my final verdict is 6 out of 10. The Mustang Alpha stays true to its lore, with Consolidated Outland offering a cheap ship capable of medium to high flight performance. If the cargo bay had been easier to load, the Alpha would have scored 1 point higher. Additionally, not being up to the gold standard yet limits the final verdict for obvious reasons. What the Alpha desperately needs, however, is a distinguishing feature. As you progress in the game, you will forget about this ship, because what it offers is basic. Every veteran player has a favorite little shuttle they use for simple tasks, but I believe very few choose the Alpha for that purpose, as there are many entry-level alternatives that offer more in terms of features or personality. I hope CAG will take the opportunity of the gold standard to make this ship a little more desirable or unique. How? Here is what I suggest. Improvements. For the Mustang Alpha, the improvements I would like to make are: Passenger seat. The canopy of the Alpha is large enough to accommodate a passenger seat. Imagine sharing a thrilling ride with a friend as you fly at high speed through a canyon. This would help the Alpha retain its appeal to veteran players, as well as serving as a much-needed training ship for the Orcs fighter academies. The second seat could also suggest a possible science variant of the Mustang, with a co-pilot-controlled sensor turret like a mini Terrapin or a mini Constellation Aquila. This would help new players fit into exploratory game loops. Funnel. The cargo bay could have a funnel-shaped entrance that makes it easier to load boxes by guiding them into the right position. No wing hardpoints. Since the wings of the Alpha are likely to fall off every time, it makes no sense to have weapon hardpoints on them. I think it would be better to put them on the hull or the static part of the wings. Higher top speed. As I mentioned earlier, I would increase the SCM and top speeds of all Mustang variants except the Beta by 10%. This would make the Mustangs even more in tune with the lore and could allow the Alpha to serve as an entry-level smuggler. This adjustment would also help close the existing gap in speed ranges, where there's a jump from the 1200 m/s cluster to the 1400 with almost nothing in between. And that concludes this in-depth analysis of the Alpha. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out my other Star Citizen content. In the next episode, the Aurora MR. Is it a better choice than the Alpha? Until then, see you in the verse.